Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Come on into the webinar. My name is Linda Peavy, and I am the owner of LaPav Consulting, LLC, and I'm going to be your host for this evening, where we are going to talk about getting grant funding for your woman-owned business or woman-led nonprofit. So again, come on in and join me. My name is Linda Peavy, and I am in Northeastern Ohio, where it is a chilly 35 degrees. So as you come in, I want to know who is with me tonight. So give your city or your state a shout out so that I can see who's with me. Again, I am Linda Peavy. I am the owner of LaPav Consulting, LLC. I'm going to be your host for this evening, where we are going to talk about grant writing for your woman-owned business and also your woman-led nonprofit. So, hey, we have Wichita, Kansas with us. Hey, Andrea. Montgomery, Alabama. Whoa, it is 83 degrees. You didn't have to rub it in, Manette. Detroit, Metro Atlanta. Hey, Snellville, Georgia. I happen to know where Uniontown, Pennsylvania is. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Yes, yes, yes. I used to live in Valley Forge. Hey, Chicago. So please let us know where you're joining us from as you come in. Again, my name is Linda Peavy, and I'm going to be your host. And we're going to talk about how we are going to get you grant funding for your woman-owned business. Hey, I see Cleveland Heights in the house. All right, we've got some Clevelanders with us tonight. Yes, Cleveland representing. Hey, wow, Ridgecrest, California, 45 degrees out in the California desert, but I bet it is absolutely gorgeous. High Point, North Carolina. We have Atoka, Tennessee. Howell, New Jersey is in the house. Fontana, California. Hey, we got Brooklyn. We got New York in the house. And of course, sunny Miami and Miramar, Florida. I've been all through Florida. Oxford, Mississippi is with us. Thank you again so much. Those of you who know me know that this is going to be a no fluff zone, so we're going to get started. I am all about filling this hour and maybe 15 minutes with information that is going to help you be successful at securing grants for your small business or your nonprofit. All right, so we're going to get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen and always say, oh, come through technology, come through, come through. All right, and the first thing you're going to see is just my 30-second television commercial. And it's going to give you just a bit more information about who I am and how I've been able to serve my different audiences. All right. So we're going to try that one more time. Come through technology, come on through. All right, so let's try this one more time, one more time. There we go. All right, we are off to the races now.
Hi, I'm Linda Peavy, owner of LaPav Consulting. My passion is to place your organization on the path to excellence. Are you struggling to communicate your message, reach target audiences, or secure funding? From marketing communications to grant writing, we achieve your goals. We've worked with high-profile clients and have secured $17 million in funding for charter schools and nonprofits. Call today to discuss what your success looks like and how LaPav Consulting can help.
All right, so a little bit more about me. First of all, we want to make sure everybody's in the right space. So this is grant writing for women-owned businesses, but also if you have nonprofits, this is going to be perfect for you. And I believe we have some gentlemen joining us as well. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, a little bit more about me. They call me the Grants Queen. Why? Because yes, I have secured more than $17 million in grant funding and business development for my clients. And you know that there's a difference between writing the grant and securing the money. And I've been blessed enough to be able to secure over $17 million in that time that I have owned my company. And this is the 15th year of me owning LaPav Consulting and being a small business owner full-time. Most of those 15 years have been spent writing grants, writing grant proposals, creating fund development plans. I've been writing those requests for proposals that you have to complete. I've been hired to write those proposals. I've been hired to score grant applications. I've also been working to build partnerships and relationships with organizations and with programs. Also, I do provide grant writing workshops. I've created workshops for the Urban League, for the Council of Smaller Enterprises, and many other organizations. And I've been the executive director of a nonprofit. I have a small business now, but I have served nonprofits. So I want to know who's with me. Are you a small business, or are you a nonprofit? Or, and this is what I'm finding a lot, for-profits are beginning to start nonprofit organizations. So maybe you're both. So let me know in the chat, are you for-profit? Are you nonprofit? Or maybe you're both. So let me peek into the chat to see. Okay, nonprofit, small business, a lot of small business, for-profit, small business. We've got a lot of business owners with us tonight. Excellent, excellent. Both, okay. Trying to start a small business. Dr. Candace Holmes, small business. Cynthia, trying to start a small business. So we have a lot of business owners, but we do have some nonprofits too. So what's important is that this is going to be absolutely crucial for both of you, whether or not you're a small business, whether or not you're a nonprofit, to hear and absorb and able to put yourself in a better position to get grant funding. So a little bit more about my journey. I used to be the marketing director of a publishing house in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. I was there for 10 years. I was the associate publisher and marketing director, and I got hurt. And when I got hurt, I had to come back home to Cleveland, literally came home in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. Took me 2 years to recuperate. And after I was cleared to work again, I couldn't find a job, even though I had all these years of experience in marketing and in publishing. When you think about it, Cleveland, like, it's not exactly the publishing mecca of the world. And I came back home. I was born and raised in Cleveland. So I found LaPav Consulting. So for me, it was out of necessity. I had to do it. So let me know in the chat, did you start your small business because maybe that was a dream of yours? Or maybe like me, you wanted to feed yourself, you wanted to eat, you wanted a roof over your head. So I didn't have a choice. Nobody would hire me. I had to start my own business. So let me know, what was it for you? Was it a dream? Oh, I've got some dreamers. Tanya, it was a dream. Yes, yes, yes. Anne says both. And sometimes it is a little bit of both, right? You get placed in that position where you're forced to do things that you've always dreamt about doing. So this is what happened though. I became the executive director of a nonprofit. That was my first contract job, owning my own company. I was a contract ED. And in the first week, I was called into the board of directors room and in this meeting, and I was told all of a sudden that I had to write a grant to literally save my job. I had to write a grant that would pay for the salary, my salary as the executive director. Of course, they didn't say that when they were interviewing me, but you know what? I did it. I learned about grants. I didn't know anything about grants. I knew nothing, but I learned about grants and I learned how to write grants. And I got that connection between learning how to write and communicate your story to getting free money, because that's what grants are, free money. And so I learned that it is a process though. And that's what I'm here to teach you tonight, is the process. Now, what are we going to cover? We're going to talk about why this class is important. 3 keys to funding the philanthropic landscape, which is very, very different now than it was 5 years ago. Grant basics. How do you prepare to write? What do you write? How do you write? How do you attract that perfect funder? We're going to talk a little bit about bid proposals and capacity capability statements. And then I'm going to teach you how you get that application notice. And then I have a list of grants for you. We're going to talk about grant research. How do you find these grants? And then we're going to wrap it up. I don't want you to go anywhere because I have a phenomenal Q&A session where I literally answer all of your questions and have a bonus surprise for you. So why this class? Well, we know as women entrepreneurs, we need funding, and we need funding other than loans, right? We can't always get loans. We don't always want loans. We want free funding. However, grants are free, but grant writing, if you hire a grant writer, that can be costly. For professional grant writers like me, we charge anywhere between $100 to $200 per hour to write grants for you. I want you to be able to learn these skills yourself and place your position in the best position to get this free grant money, because why pay a grant writer when you absolutely can learn the skills and nobody's going to tell your story better than you, right? However, you have to know the process. And that's what I'm here to share with you, is the process. Now, two different incidents completely changed the landscape of philanthropy. One was COVID-19. You probably know an organization that went out of business. So many small businesses went under, so many, until foundations and your major like Fortune 500 companies took notice and they said, we have to do something. There's so many small businesses, which is really the backbone of this country, is going out of business. What can we do? Right? And when you think about it, foundations and major corporations, they have infusions of cash. So that's what they did. They said, you know what, we're going to create these grants and they're going to be earmarked for women-owned businesses, right? And so that's why there's so much money. In the 15 years I've been writing grants, I have never seen as much money as there is right now for women-owned businesses. There was a time when you never heard of an entrepreneur or for-profit business getting grant money, right? Grants were for nonprofits, but COVID-19 changed everything. And so there are still COVID-19 grants available, but now when you see them and you really want to talk about how did COVID-19 affect your business? Did you have to close? Did you have to maybe lay off or fire employees? Did you have to shrink, right? So make sure if you see any of those grants, you really want to talk about how you were affected by COVID-19. But because of COVID-19, there's more money than ever available in grants for us. The other incident was the George Floyd killing, right? So after George Floyd was murdered, once again, foundations and your major corporations said, we have got to do something to address racial injustice in this country. What can we do, right? And when you think about it, again, these are institutions where there's plentiful money. So once again, they said, you know what, we're going to create these grants that are geared towards organizations, including small businesses that are somehow addressing racial injustice. You might have heard of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or maybe your organization is addressing some socially conscious cause. It could be homelessness. It could be drug addiction. Once again, foundations and major corporations said, we're going to earmark dollars for small businesses, but especially Black-owned businesses and especially women-owned businesses, because we know we can somehow provide these fundings that will help you to be able to have a better voice in this particular area. So never been like this before when it comes to the amount of money. So now we're going to grant basics. What I need for you to know about grants is that they're not paid back. That's what you need to know. Grants are not paid back. Now, people get this confused, so please listen to me carefully. If you are a nonprofit, and only if you are a nonprofit, this is not for entrepreneurs, this is not for for-profits. If you are a nonprofit, you need a 501c3. The 501c3 is a tax-exempt charitable organization designation by the IRS. What does it mean? It means that you're tax exempt, but also if people donate to you, they can write off those donations as tax deductible. Now, what you don't want to do is use a fiscal agent, right, in order to get grants. The fiscal agent is an organization that already has their 501c3, so you don't have it. You find a nonprofit that has, and then they literally get money on your behalf. So if you apply for a grant, the grant money goes to the fiscal agent, and then the fiscal agent gives the money to you, right? Well, that's the very reason why foundations don't like to deal with fiscal agents, because they don't want their money going to a third party. If I'm giving you a grant for your program, I want that money to go directly to you. So here's the good news, right? The good news is that at one point, it was taking 3 to 6 months for nonprofits to get their 501c3. Right now, it's taking literally 6 to 8 weeks, right? So now is the time, all of you nonprofits, to start applying to get your 501c3. Now, I'm on to grant basics. Look at this slide here. Look at the giving. And this is just foundation giving, right? People thought, oh, we're in a pandemic, the money is gone, people aren't going to give. Well, guess what? People started giving more. So foundation giving in 2021 increased to $90.8 billion, right? And when the numbers come out in 2022, it's going to be even higher. So you know what? Do we need all $90 billion? No, we just need a little bit, right? Can you imagine what you can do with just a little bit of the $90 billion? So I want you to put into the chat, I just need a little bit, right? You just need a little bit. We don't want to be stingy, and we don't want to be greedy, right? We want just a little bit of the $90 billion. Can you imagine what you could do with your small business, right? Or your nonprofit, if you got just a little bit? I want to see you put it in the chat. Yes, I need just a little bit. Dr. Holmes says, I want all that's coming to me. That's right. Tanya says, I just need, right, Tanya, I just need enough, right? I just need enough. But we don't need it all. We just need just a little bit of the $90 billion. And I'm going to show you how to get it. Now, this is important. And this is what too many organizations forego. You have to prepare to write grants. I don't want you to just start pulling down applications and filling them out and sending them off. Prepare to write grants. And I always say, just go over your just basic writing skills. There's 5. We're just going to deal with the 5th one, editing and rewriting, because I don't want you submitting applications that are full of grammatical mistakes, right? So in order to avoid doing that, what are you going to do? This is your homework. You're going to download Grammarly. If anyone's using Grammarly, put it into the chat. It is phenomenal. It is a editing software tool, okay? It will make you write better. Literally, it will force you to write better. I'm a professional editor and a professional writer, and I use Grammarly. I use the professional version, which is about $150 a year, but free. You're going to hear this all night. Free. The free version of Grammarly is fantastic. And this particular article improved writing skills dramatically by doing these 15 things. This is your homework. I want you to download this article after we're done, because it will make you a better writer. So all we're doing is just honing up on those writing skills to make sure that you put forth your best effort when you are applying for the grants. Next, we're preparing, right? You need to get your documents in order. Your EIN, that's your employer identification number. And again, only for nonprofits, your 501c3, right? Don't use that fiscal agent. Now, especially for you small businesses, you need your certificate of incorporation, like your articles, your bylaws, your state certification. I had a young lady take my webinar, and she said, Linda, you're absolutely right, because I was applying for a grant and the competition was stiff. And she said, I couldn't believe it. I was the only one that got the grant money. Why? Because I had my certification to say that I was allowed to do business in the state, which is your business license. So again, more homework. If you're a for-profit, make sure that you go to your Secretary of State's website, and download the information that will show that you have a current business license. I have a lot of information to go through. Don't worry about it, because yes, we are recording this entire presentation, okay? So make sure you have that certificate saying that you are legally able to do business in your state. You need your list of board of directors. You need your staff. Letters of support become important because they will showcase that there are organizations and people that support you and support what you're doing. And you need to start gathering them before you apply for the grant, because you want to give people time to write them. Who can they come from? Your vendors, your pastor, politicians, community leaders, right? You want to ask them to give you that letter of support to say that they believe in your efforts and your cause and what you're doing, and that you deserve to receive the grant funding. Now, some grants will ask for an audited financial statement. If it is required, make sure your CPA is completing it. Now, next, your current operating budget. That's pretty simple, but if you are a startup, you may not think you need a budget. You absolutely need a budget. Why? Because by creating a budget, it gives you an idea of what this is going to cost. You need to know how much your idea is going to cost. Like, how much money will you need to open up the store or to create that service, right? And when you create the operating budget, you'll be able to start to see gaps, right? And in those gaps is where you want to apply for grant funding to support the organization. So when you look at that budget, you may have money to open up the store, you may have money for rent, you may have money for employees, but you might look at that budget and say, wow, I didn't think that I needed money for marketing. All right, I need a grant for marketing. It will help you determine where you need grant funding. Also list any other funding sources that you have. So if you have other grants, other donations, it could be in-kind donations, make sure you put them in the application, because no funder wants to be the only one, because they know that grants aren't guaranteed. If they give you $20,000 in year one, they may not be able to give you $20,000 in year two, and they don't want that responsibility of knowing, well, if I don't give you money in year two, you're going to close. That's why you always need to have multiple funding sources, and you want to put those funding sources down on that application. So now we're going to talk about what to write. These are the grant components of a typical grant application, and make sure the questions you put them into the chat or into the Q&A, because we're going to go over everything at the end. Summary, abstract, mission, vision, history, leadership, description of organization, your statement of need in your target market, description of your program or your project, community partnerships, your outputs, outcomes, and impact, your program staff, your board of directors, your budget, and your sustainability. We're going to go through these one at a time. So first up, summary. Now we're talking about how do you write these components. Don't get fooled at all by the fact that the summary is the first thing that you will see on that grant application, right? It comes first, you always write it last. Always. Why? Because it's going to include the most compelling components of your grant application. So I don't want you to be tricked up and thinking, oh, okay, this is the first part of the application, let me start completing it. No, you always save it for last. Next, your mission, vision. Now, all of you should have a mission statement, right? But do you have a vision statement? You will need one, because many grant applications will ask you for your vision. What is the vision? We all know the mission is what you're doing now, like your aims and your goals, but the vision is what you would like to have happen in the future if you're able to meet your mission statement, right? So this is more homework for you. Crew, make sure you create a vision statement for your organization. Now the mission becomes super important, because whatever your mission statement is, you need to align it with whatever funder or foundation that you're seeking money from. So for example, if you are focused on K through 12 education, you want to make sure that your foundation or your company that you're seeking money from, that's one of their goals, that they want to fund K through 12 education. So that's why you really need to be aware that whatever mission it is that really defines your organization, you need to make sure that it is in alignment with the mission of whatever organization that you're seeking funding from. So the history, many people think, well, I'm a startup, I'm a new company, I don't have a history. No, every organization has a history, right? So I always think about the former principal. She's starting a tutoring company, right? She wants to tutor students in grades 9 through 12. And this is new. So she's thinking, okay, I don't have a history. I'm just starting this tutoring organization. But think about it. She was a principal, right, of a high school. And she saw that those students were failing, right, that they needed help in reading and math. And so she wants to start this tutoring organization that will help them in reading and math. She got the idea based on her experience being a principal at that high school. So often it is the impetus for you starting the new organization that you can include as a part of the history. So never think that there's no history just because you're new. Other parts of the application, leadership, of course, that's your executive leadership, that's your CEO, your COO, but also include your board, because your board of directors, they're considered a part of your leadership too. Next, you're going to describe your organization. What is your track record for working with whatever your target population is, right? What has been your success rate? And this is really for organizations that you've been around for a while, you've had some successes. What has been your success factors? Really talk about why you've been successful. when you're describing your organization, and definitely use stats, use statistics as much as possible. Next is the statement of needs section. In other terms, what is the problem? And what you need to understand is that no matter what you do, no matter your organization, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit, you always have to see the work that you're doing in terms of resolving a problem, right? What issue are you addressing? And I love to use the example of a bakery, right? This bakery, she wants to locate to a downtown location. And you may think, well, you know, she's making cakes and cookies. Like, what problem is she solving? Well, she's trying to locate in the downtown area where there's been many, many other failed companies, right? So she wants to locate there, and she wants to be able to contribute to the economic development of that community in the downtown area. She wants to be able to provide this upscale service of baked goods to the businesses, right, that surround her, so that maybe they can even impress their clients with, you know, these fabulous baked goods. Always think about what you're doing in terms of what am I addressing and what problem am I trying to resolve, right? That problem is how you connect to your funders' areas of interest. So again, if you have a restaurant, you want to make sure that you're connecting with a funder that has an interest in funding restaurants, right? So how do you get this information about the funder? How do you know about their areas of interest? Well, you go to their website, of course, but guess what? 90% of foundations don't have a website. I'm going to say that again. 90% of foundations do not have a website. So what do? Well, I'm going to be spilling tea all night, and this is a cup of tea for you. And think about free, okay? The 990 form. The 990 form is a gold mine. What is it? That is the tax document that organizations, nonprofits, foundations have to provide to the Internal Revenue Service. That is their tax statement, right? When you look at that 990, it gives you so much information. You'll get the directors, you'll get senior leadership, right? But if you scroll down to the end of that 990, you're going to get a document that lays out everywhere that foundation has given funding to. And you're going to be looking for similar organizations as yours, because if, let's say, you have an equestrian program that is working with veterans to heal veterans, and they have the opportunity to nurture and groom horses, you're going to look for any type of organization that maybe works with veterans or maybe has some type of pet or animal program that provides healing and nurturing. So you look for that similarity, because then you may say to yourself, okay, that may be an organization that I want to apply for funding from. Now, how do you get the 990? Well, you can certainly pay for a membership, but free. I'm going to give you a resource where you can download any 990 free of charge. And that is projects.propublica.org/nonprofits. I want to make sure that is put into the chat, because when you go to this site, you will be able to download the 990s of any organization free of charge. And I tell you, that form is a gold mine. So next, we're talking about your target population. Who are you helping? And what you need to know is that it can't be everybody. You can't help everybody. I hear that too often. You have to really think about, what customer are you serving? What customer needs your service or your product or your program the most? What are the demographics of that audience? Maybe it's gender. Maybe your program is geared towards women. Maybe it's ethnicity. Maybe you have a program for African Americans. Maybe it's based on income. Maybe you're serving those who live below the federal poverty line. Maybe it's based on age. Maybe your product is for senior citizens. Really think about who would be best served by your product. And then maybe it's about geography. Maybe you just want to serve those in your local community, or maybe you serve people nationwide. One way in which you can gather these demographics and gather these facts is using the U.S. Census Fast Facts, another free website that you can go to gather statistics, anything from literally the educational attainment, the unemployment rate, how many people in the area are under the age of 5. So census.gov/quick facts. It's a phenomenal resource. I use it all the time. This really is about telling your story, right? When you're writing a grant application, you are selling your organization to that funder, to that foundation. One thing I want you to remember, though, is you don't make yourself the hero of that story. You make the person that you are serving, your target population, the hero, because the transformation is going to happen with that person. The transformation will happen with the students, right, who are now failing reading and math, but they're going to go through the tutoring program because now they can maybe get a GED, or they can graduate from high school, or they can start a trade or go to college or join the military. That's where the transformation takes place. Let's say your service organization and you help people who've been fired, or maybe they don't know what their next career move is, and you're all about career development, right? Well, once you allow that person to get back on the right track, the transformation will occur within that person because they will be able to see exactly what they should be doing, or maybe they want to go back into the job market, or maybe they want to start their own company, right? The transformation occurs within your target population or the community that you serve. You have to ask yourself, especially those who have written grant applications before, are you really telling your story the best? This is about showing how you have changed lives, right? What type of outcome have you been able to achieve? How do you appeal to emotions? And some of you may be thinking about that bakery, like, how do you change the lives of people? You have a restaurant. Well, you never know, right? Maybe her recipe was brought down through generations, and now she has the opportunity to let people know, what that recipe is. Maybe these are literally the best baked goods, in a 5-mile radius. And literally, you want to get real examples, testimonials, case studies. I am a firm believer that if you have a website on your homepage, you should have video testimonials, and it can be so quick. Literally, everybody knows, like, I'm an Android person. You could literally have somebody, or maybe you have an iPhone, put that phone in front of them and literally talk for a minute about how this is the best cupcake you've ever had. So it doesn't matter what your service is or your product, you need to use videos to show examples, testimonials, and case studies of how you are changing people's lives. Okay, so don't sleep on videos. You have a decision to make about what kind of grant you're going to apply to. Is it operating, or is it program project? So what is the difference? If you apply for operating grants, that means you decide where to apply the funds. Maybe it's infrastructure, maybe it's IT or marketing, right? You decide. With program project grants, it has to be based on a very specific project or service. Let's take that restaurant. Maybe she wants to start a delivery service and she needs funding, right? To make a decision, you need to really look at where are your greatest needs in your organization. But this is something that you need to keep in mind. It doesn't have to be either or. You can apply for operating dollars from one foundation and program project dollars from another foundation. And this is important, you can apply to several foundations for the same project. So let's say you want to hire someone and you apply to Foundation A for a $20,000 grant. You can also apply to Foundation B for that same $20,000 grant to hire the same person. What happens if you get grants from both foundations? What you're not going to do is give the money back, right? But what you can do is use the money maybe for longer hours, or maybe you can hire 2 staff people at that point, right? So don't ever think that you have to just apply to one foundation for one particular need that you have. You should be applying to multiple foundations based on your needs. Next, we're just describing whatever your project or service is going to be, right? If it's been successful, why has it been successful? Talk about your track record. If it's something new that maybe you've never used before, you want to talk about why you think it will be successful. So for example, that tutor, the principal, she's going to be teaching using project-based learning. Well, she has to prove that project-based learning is successful in reaching, urban kids that are in grades 9 through 12. So if it's something new that you're using, you have to do the research and make sure that it's proven based on your target. But whatever you do, you should always be talking about how it is addressing an issue or solving a problem. Next, we talk about community partnerships, and this is going to be important. I would say in the last 5 years, this segment of grant applications have been so important to whether or not you get grant funding. And don't think that there ever has to be an exchange of money, right? Many, especially for-profits, think, well, I don't want a partnership. I don't want to split my profits. You don't have to. So a partnership does not have to be based on any type of financial arrangements. Your third-party vendors could be your community partners, right? There are community organizations where you live that you can partner with who would be able to help you. I'll give you the example. I was writing a grant years ago for a third grade class where they wanted to teach these third graders the violin. And this is a small urban school, and we were going to partner with the Cleveland Orchestra. They were going to come in and teach violin to these third grade urban students. I mean, if you can imagine, the Cleveland Orchestra is one of the greatest orchestras in the world, and we were going to partner with them for this program. So if you are a new organization, you want to partner with very well-renowned, very well-known organizations in the community. Universities, women's business organizations, Greek organizations, the YWCA, the YMCA, and even other women-owned businesses. So let's take that example again of the bakery. Maybe she can partner with an event planning service where they have flyers posted in each other's place of business, and the event planner is providing information to her clients about the bakery and using the bakery service, and the bakery maybe wants to have some type of events in the store, and she's going to use the event planner. So once again, the organization that is involved does not have to provide any type of financial enumeration at all. But the community partnerships are going to be critical. So really think about how you can work better with organizations in your community. Next, we're looking at forecasting. And that may be a scary word, but don't let it be. So this is really about showing, if I get the money, if I get the grant money, how am I going to show to the funder that it's working, that I'm using it and it's helping me? So you have outputs, outcomes, and then impact. And some grant applications will only ask for one. Some will ask for all three. So we're going to go through all three. What are outputs? Those are immediate results. You give me the $20,000, this is what's going to happen. Outcomes usually are 6 months to a year later. Like, because of you giving me the money and the output, this change is going to happen in 6 months to a year. The impact usually takes a little bit longer, at least a year out, but it's based on the outcomes, right? Which is based on the output. I'll give you an example. A daycare center wanted $20,000 to open. And she said, if you give me the $20,000, we're going to open and serve 100 families and 250 children. Now, as a result of us opening, because we chose the ideal location, in 6 months, we're going to grow our capacity by 40%, and we're going to start 24/7 services. Now, a year from now, because we grew and because we added services, we're going to be able to say that, look, our families, like 25% of our families experience less stress. Why? Because they can drop their kids off 24/7. Like, who wouldn't experience less stress? 65% of children demonstrate improved behavior because we have this great educational program. And also a year from now, because you gave us $20,000, we're going to be able to expand to 2 locations. So they build upon each other. And again, when you write this in the application, you're forecasting what you think will happen if you get the grant money. Now we go on to SMART goals, because you have to talk about what goals you're going to achieve when you get the money. And I know many of you are familiar with SMART goals. They're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. I'll give you an example of how to create one. Let's say I have a program and my goal is, I want to reduce the poverty rate in Cleveland. Well, that's a massive goal, right? How do I turn that into a SMART goal? I now can say, I want to reduce the poverty rate by 5% in Cleveland for Hispanic children under the age of 5 within a 5-year time frame. How did I change the goal into a SMART goal? I added data and statistics, and that's what you can do too. Also, you will need assessment tools to prove that whatever your goal, your plan, your service, or your business is working. You can use surveys, you can use reports. That particular tutor, the retired principal, she can use the reading and math scores of the students once they started tutoring and then after they started tutoring, right? These are assessment tools that will help you prove that your program or your service is working. I happen to like SurveyMonkey. There's JotForm and many other surveys that you can provide to help get data. Next, your staff. Who are you asking to lead whatever the project or the service or the company is, right? If you are a for-profit small business, you probably haven't updated your resume or your bio in a long time, but you're going to need to, right? When you start applying for grants. So this is more homework. Make sure you have an updated bio and an updated resume, not only for you, but for any other people who will have significant responsibilities, because oversight is key. And that funder, that foundation wants to make sure that you're putting qualified people in the right place to oversee whatever projects or programs that you have. Now, why is all of this important? Because it's about accountability. Next, we go on to budgets. What do you need to know about a budget? You have to itemize those expenses. So if you're asking for $50,000 to hire an executive director of your company, well, what does that mean? Is it $50,000 per 6 months, or is it for a year? Is a contract job? Is the person going to be a W-2 employee? You have to be specific. Program staff, are you hiring 1099 workers or W-2 workers? And how much are you paying them per hour? How long are they working? How many hours a week? How many weeks in a year? You want to put all of this information into the budget narrative, right? And that's the second part of the budget that you'll often see. So the numbers go in the budget, but how you explain what those numbers mean, go into the budget narrative. Whatever you do, you want to make sure that you are connecting those figures, those budget computations back to the goal of the program. Now we get to sustainability, and this is for me a lot of fun, because keep in mind, grants are not guaranteed, and you're going to be asked this question, so you will need to know how to answer it. They're going to ask you, well, we know grants are not guaranteed. If we're giving you $20,000 in year one, we may not give you $20,000 in year two. So how are you going to sustain your program in year two? So I want to do a little activity here. I want you to think about that high school, right? They got $20,000 for that tutoring program in year one, but they have to write in that grant application, how are we going to be able to raise money to sustain this program in year two if we don't get any more grant money? Because remember, I said before, funders don't like to think that if they don't give you grant money, your program is going to fail. So that high school has to come up with a way to put into that grant application how they're going to sustain the tutoring program when there's no grant funding. So I want you to put into the chat, really think about this. This is a high school. How could a high school, exactly, Tanika, fundraisers, absolutely fundraisers, right? What about a car wash? What about a talent show? What about a bake sale, right? There's so many ways in which a high school could write into a grant application, okay, this is how we're going to come up with the $20,000 in year two. So what are some of the other ways? I see fundraisers, a raffle, right? Dr. Holmes, a raffle, absolutely. Jessica, perfect. Different sporting events, absolutely. Latrenda, a bake sale, right? Absolutely. Sponsorships. Oh, I love the pop-ups. That's my first time seeing that one. Leslie, I love the pop-ups idea. A concert, vendor events, right? Vendor events. So this is what you have to do. You have to think about ways in which you can say on that grant application, in year two, even if we don't get the grant, we're going to be covered. We're going to have this program covered. So in other words, alternative fund development methods into the application you will be writing. Okay, so I want to spend just a second on bid proposals, because many of you as for-profits, you're going to be going after bids, right? You're going to be going after whether it's local contracts, federal, county, state contracts. And the only thing I want you to understand, because I do separate workshops on bid proposals, do not underbid. Too many organizations think, well, if I just give them the lowest bid, I'm going to get the contract. No, because as the contractor, if I put out a bid, I have some idea of what that contract is going to cost. So if I need someone to build me a fence, and I know that that fence is going to cost about $1 million, and you give me a proposal saying you're going to charge $50,000, I know that you're not qualified, you don't have the capacity, and you're not ready. So instead of looking to underbid, focus on your capacity. Focus on your experience with similar jobs. Maybe you've built 1,000 fences, right? Maybe you have unbelievably qualified staff, right? How can you go above and beyond what the requirements are? Maybe you can prove that, look, you've never missed a deadline. You've built 100 fences and you've never built a deadline. You never missed a deadline. Really talk about what is going to get your proposal noticed and put in reasonable figures, okay? Also, some of you may be familiar with capability or capacity statements. That's just about having a marketing statement based on your capabilities and your skills. You want it to keep it at 1 page, 2 if you have to, but it needs to be double-sided. You're talking about your core competencies, the same thing that you're doing in a bid proposal. What are your differentiators? Maybe you have state-of-the-art facilities. Maybe you have the best equipment, right? You have to focus on your uniqueness, your past performance, and then just other typical information like your contact information, your corporate data. Some of you may have a business plan, right? And now you're going to be creating grant proposals and you think, well, maybe I can just use a business plan. They're a little different, but it will make for less work because these 2 documents contain most of the same information. You've got an executive summary, you've got a company description, market analysis, you certainly have your target market in the grant proposal. Both documents talk about your products or your services. The only thing that's really different is that in that business plan, it's going to require a marketing plan, which you don't normally see in grant proposals, right? Management and organization is on both, and definitely your financial statements like your balance sheet and your profit and loss statement, and then of course your budget. What I really wanted to communicate to you is there's information that you need to know and incorporate before you write a single syllable in a grant application, right? And so part of it is also having what I call a mindset of winning. Because if you go into grant writing thinking automatically, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get through this grant. I can't do it. I can't write grants. I was told that they're like 1,000 pages. No, I've shown you that the money is available and people that look just like you are winning grants every single day. There's no reason why you can't, but you have to go in with the right mindset, right? And just so you know, grants are not like they were before. They're not 200-page dissertations, right? There are grants, especially the for-profit grants. They can be 3 or 4 pages, literally 3 to 4 pages. So let that fear subside. You can do this, but do it in a community of support because that is critical. Don't do this by yourself. I know you want to be successful, but yes, do the work, put in the time and the effort because you know the results are worth it. You'll be able to open up that dream business or create that nonprofit and really be able to have free grant money, free money, so that you're not bootstrapping or asking family for funds. You're able to pay your bills. You're able to even expand your business. You can do this. If you don't take anything away from this webinar, take this information here. Grant writing and securing of money is all about relationship building. Whatever you do, meet with the funder first. Please meet with the funder first. I have been in meetings where I've heard foundation leaders say, look, if people don't call me, don't email me, don't try to have a conversation with me, I'm not going to approve this grant, or maybe even will go into the trash, right? Now, not all foundations feel that way, right? But do your due diligence. And not all foundations even want to meet with you. Some will say, look, do the application, fill it out, send it off, we're good. But if you have the opportunity meet with that funder. That is critical because in that meeting, they're going to share information with you that you're not getting on their website. You're going to share information with them that they can't get from your website. And I've been in meetings so many times. If they really like you, they will guide you to putting in information on that application that will allow it to be approved. So that's why that meeting with them, and it doesn't have to be in person, it can be in Zoom, is crucial. Literally 2 weeks ago, I was helping a client set up a meeting with a funder. The funder didn't know them at all. After a 30-minute meeting, this is 2 weeks ago, they got $30,000, right? This is happening again and again and again, right? So meet with the funder first, if at all possible. These are just some of the do's. Next, time management. If that deadline says 4:59, don't submit that application at 5 o'clock. You're going to have a miserable evening, okay? Because it's not going to be accepted. Address every question. Even if it does not pertain to you, don't leave it blank, because some grant portals, if you leave spaces blank, they're going to consider that application be incomplete and not accepted. So put NA if something does not apply to you, unless it states that you can leave it blank. And absolutely do your external reviews, because you don't want to submit those applications that are full of grammatical errors. Now, these are some don'ts. Don't use cookie cutter answers. Please don't copy and paste from one application to 5 other applications, because every grant application is different. Look, I love templates and they have their place, but address every question. And this is crucial. Don't ask for too much money when you approach a funder for the first time. Now, many grants will tell you how much the grant is for, $5,000, $20,000. But some foundations, especially community foundations, they will not give you a dollar amount. But what you can do is go in and asking for $100,000, because you're not going to get it, because they don't know that you're fiscally responsible yet. I always recommend, if you're going in for the first time, to ask for between $5,000 and $25,000. That's a good first ask. And finally, don't forget to edit. Grammarly is your friend. Remember, I talked about how important it is for you to meet with the funder. This is how you get it done. You write a letter of introduction. You talk about your organization, your statement of need. You do not ask for a dollar amount, right? Because all you're trying to do is meet with the funder, okay? You talk about money once you get into that meeting. But how do you know who the funder is? Well, you can go to the 990 or you can go to the website, right? But let's say you get the name. Where are you sending the letter? Where are you emailing it to? What you're not going to do is send it to info@abcfoundation.org and let it go off into the hemisphere somewhere. You need an email. And I've been dropping you gems and I've been giving you tea all evening, but this is the teapot, okay? This email portal is unbelievable. It is called getemail.io. It will give you the email address of almost anybody, anywhere in the world, in any organization. I use it several times a week. I've gotten email addresses from people in Germany, Italy, you name it. And what's incredible about it is that it's free for like maybe the first 10 to 15 emails. And then there's a monthly charge of about $60 a month. But it is absolutely, if anybody has used it in the chat, please put into the chat. If you use getemail.io, it is absolutely amazing. So you want to be able to use it to get the email addresses of those foundation leaders so that you know where you're sending your information. You're welcome for the tea, Latrinda. So the grant research, now we're talking about where do you go to get those grants? Where do you go to find the grants? The Foundation Directory Online is the largest source of information in the US about grants. They will give you the name of the funder. They're about $50 a month. Instrumental.com that's pricey. It's about $200 a month. They give you the funder, they give you the grant, they give you the 990, and they give you a lot of other information and training. Grants.gov, you know, that's the largest source of federal grants. That's free. The Lilly Foundation is the largest funder of religious organizations. If you have an educational program, grantgopher.com. I love Grant Watch because it talks a lot about last minute grants. urbanawarenessusa.org, that gives you information about minority grants, and they're Black owned as well. So, and they're free to sign up. Now, they do have some paid services, but they're free to sign up. So, for example, this is the homepage of Grant Watch. Is that, as you can see to the left, where you apply the filters, you're going to fill in that information. In the middle there, you're going to check, are you a nonprofit, a business, or an individual? And then where it says apply filters, you're going to put in what kind of grant do you want? Do you want a federal grant, a foundation grant? Who is your target population? Is it veterans, the homeless, K through 12, disabled? What is your subject? Is it education? If you're that career development person, that's business and industry. Do you want to create financial services? Put in the information. Literally, you hit a button and out pops a list of not only available grants to you, but how you apply for them. That's one of the reasons why I love Grant Watch, because they have so many different kinds of grants. Grant Station, also I didn't mention, they are fantastic for finding for-profit grants. Grant Station, grantstation.com. So this is just some opportunities that are available now for you to get grant funding. So helloalice.com. You absolutely have to know about Hello Alice. You should subscribe. It's free. It's the largest source right now of grant information for for-profit women entrepreneurs. Facebook has a Black Creators Grant. Amber Grants for Women, they provide about $25,000 a month. The National Association of the Self-Employed Growth Grants. Fearless Fund and MasterCard has a Women of Color grant. The Visa She's Next for Black women business owners, that's a different grant. FedEx has a grant. If you have any type of sports program or health and wellness, you need to look at the Women's Sports Foundation. You definitely want to go to grantsforwomen.org because they have a list of grants that are incredible for women, not only led nonprofits, but for-profit organizations. Or maybe you don't want grants, maybe you want an angel investor. 37 Angels is a female angel investor group. All they do is invest in women-owned small businesses, literally up to $150,000. That is a lot of money, right? The Tory Burch Foundation supports women businesses. I Fund Women, another list of many, many funds, many, many grants that are available. And Cartier, the jewelry company, also has an initiative. And something else that I want you to know is that you don't have to have W-2 employees. Don't think you have to have W-2 employees. There are organizations that provide funding to all volunteer nonprofits and all volunteer for-profits. So don't think you have to have a huge staff. You don't. Now, when you think of banks and money, I want you to put into the chat what comes to your mind. Banks and money, banks and money, banks and money. Yes, this entire webinar is being recorded. You'll get the recording. Loans, good credit, right? Banks and money, loans. What do you think about banks and money, banks and money? Good or bad, right? Good or bad credit, Cherise, right? Well, did you know that banks are some of the largest provider of grants, not loans, grants to not only for-profit organizations, but nonprofit organizations. So please don't sleep on banks. Is it going to be your local bank? You want to go to your local branch manager? No, because they're probably going to try to get you to get a loan, right? You have to find the vice president of the bank. It's usually the VP of like maybe community service or community investment. You find that vice president, you set up a meeting with that vice president, and you talk to that vice president about grants, okay? A young lady was on the webinar. She took my advice. She did a research. She found out, okay, what banks have a really good footprint in your communities? And that's what she did. And she applied for a $2.3 million grant from the bank, not a loan, grant. So don't sleep on banks for grant money. I have personally secured funding from banks for for-profit organizations. So don't sleep on banks. Now, these are just some other women business organizations that you need to know about so that you can network and really expand your circle. We talked about grants for women. And I think there are some women on here with me from Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs. Give yourself a shout out in the chat. This is a Facebook group of over 650,000 women entrepreneurs, Facebook group. Let's see if anyone is on from. Yes, Audrey. Hey, hey, hey. Yes, yes, yes. Is it Canary? Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs. 650,000 women, right, is in this Facebook group. And guess what? It's free to join. All right. So I'm a member of the Cleveland chapter of NAWBO, the National Association of Women Business Owners. We have the ABWA, we have the Female Entrepreneur Association. These are just organizations that you need to be aware of. Now, the Women's Business Centers of Ohio, find a similar organization in your particular state, because you have to be able to network. The more you network, the more access you will have to resources, including grants. So don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for staying until the end. We're going to do a fabulous Q&A. Everybody knows at the end, I answer every question that you have. But I've been writing grants for 15 years. And one thing I know is that I needed to help people on a much greater scale than just writing individual grant applications. So what did I do? I created a grant writing course because I wanted this to be easy. Grants for so many people are just too scary. And I wanted to have a course that showed you how easy this can be. So I created this grant writing course that literally is exactly how I was able to secure $17 million. It is my blueprint, right? It is a step-by-step path to getting you money, because I want you to be impactful. And I want you to really think about, what could I do if I won $20,000, $30,000, $50,000? Literally, we have someone that's in the course 3 weeks ago. She wrote a grant for a client. She got the client $75,000 using these tools, and then wrote a grant for herself. So I tell you, people are getting money just following the tools that are in the course. It's going to save you time. You're going to be able to write grants in half the time with this course. And you will never need to ask, like, is there a grant for this? No more guesswork. I'm going to give you how to find your perfect funder. How do you find the right grant? You're going to have the best research techniques. Really, how do you approach these funders? But also, how do you write every part of that narrative, right? You're going to get 12 modules, 35 lessons. I know people learn differently, so I start you out with videos, right? For the visual learners. Then for the other learners, I have lessons, I have tasks, I have planners. We love planners, right? You have a whole workbook with all the lessons, and I have these really silly, fun quizzes. And of course, I give you actual grant examples, because if I'm teaching you how to write about your target population, I'm going to show you how I wrote about it and was able to secure funding, because every grant application in this course won money. And I do something that I guarantee you nobody else is doing. No one else is doing this. I give you literally a starting list of over 400 funding organizations. 400 funders, 400 organizations that give grants, right? So you're ready. And unlike many other people who create these courses and they disappear after you buy the course, I don't. I have a private Facebook group where you come into the group, and if anybody is in that group, give yourself a shout out, because it is phenomenal. I have people who buy the course, they come into the group, they need help, right? They say, well, can you look at this part of the grant? And I have professional grant writers in the Facebook group that will say, yes, sure. I took the course out. I'll review that for you. It's really incredible. And I give you an hour of group coaching, because I want to be able to help you. I consider myself to be a woman of God. I am a servant leader, and I believe in serving, and I want to help you get this money. You saw how much money is available. Like, why shouldn't you get it? People who look just like you are getting this money every single day. Like, why not you? So this is what the value of the course is. I've had the course audited 3 times. The lessons are worth $3,500. The videos are worth $600. The funding package alone is worth over $500. And then, of course, I give you like grant trackers, because it's so important to track your grants. You need to stay and be organized. And I give you the workbook and the different planners that you have. But this is what is amazing. The course is valued at $5,000. The regular price is $997. It's reduced to $497 for this month, but because I know you could have been elsewhere, I know you need help. You decided to be with me tonight. So guess what? The course is $197. That's it. It's one payment. Most people think, okay, Linda, I can do this. It's $197 a month. I'll do it. No, it's not a month. It's one payment of $197, right? I'm a small business owner. You're a small business owner. You're a nonprofit. I know you need help. If you did, you would not have come to the webinar. So I'm giving you this entire course for $197. And I do something that I never do. I give you the option of 2 monthly payments. $115 you can get started, and you don't wait, right? When you pay, you get started. I don't drip my course. Some instructors drip pieces of their course. No, you get the whole kit and caboodle at one time, so that when you pay this money, that's it, you're ready to go, because I don't want you to be in this same position a month from now. I want you to have found grants. I want you to be writing grants, and I want you to be getting this money. You have to use the code though, because it is $497. That's what people pay for the course. So I don't want you to get mistaken. People pay the $497. So that's what the price is. So you have to use this code FEB23SALE. You put that into the course and you will get the 60% off, but it's only for 3 days. That's it. What you need to know is that the course never expires, right? Again, I know we're busy. I know that you may buy the course, but guess what? Maybe you don't get to the course for another week or 2 weeks. Life happens. It never expires. I know people who literally will pay $3,000 for a grant writing weekend course. And after the weekend, the instructors are gone, everybody's gone. No, this course is forever. And at the end of those 12 modules, you're ready. You have your template that you can use for grant applications. And I give you, right now is 450 funders, because I just added a list of 50 organizations that give to, guess what, for-profit organizations, right? So I want to make sure that the link is put into the chat. The link is put into the chat. Yes, 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 that's the link. You have to use the code, and this is only for 3 days. Saturday, that's it. People pay the $497. That's what it is. But you came on to this webinar tonight, so I know you need the help. And this is everything you get. The basics. I even teach you how to tell stories. There's a basic storytelling lesson in there. We didn't even talk about the letter of inquiry, like LOIs. Those are important too. You have the Facebook group. You have, oh, and it's self-paced. It's self-paced, right? So I don't like push you through the course. You go at your own pace, because I want you to learn and write. And then you're coming into the Facebook group with your questions. And oh my gosh, I put so much extra information into the Facebook group. I put grants in there. I put new products in there. I put so much into the Facebook group. And also once a month, you have a free group coaching session that is literally coming up on Monday. So this is like the best time for you to join, because you will be a part of my next group session, which is the 27th of February, which is Monday at 7 o'clock. So just make sure that you use the code. I'm doing this for women. I'm doing it for women. This is what you're going to see when you go into the portal. So you have a choice. You can do the $497 and then put in the $300 discount with the code FEB23OFF, or rather SALE. You put in that code, it takes $300 off, you'll pay $197, or you hit the drop-down menu and you can pay 2 payments of $115. And then this next screen is going to come up. And you see to the left where it says have a coupon, that's where you put in your coupon. And as you can see, the course is $497, but you put in the coupon, it should immediately take $300 off the price of the course. Now, if you want private sessions, like Ask the Expert private sessions with me, you can also buy that at the time you buy the course. My rates are $495 an hour, but if you buy the course, you can get the 1 hour session for $195, and you can just tag that on to the price, and we can set up a private, just you and I, a private 1 hour session. to go over and really do a deep dive of your organization. So why is this important right now? You chose such a good time because you know what? This is the first quarter. There are organizations like Walmart and Verizon. They'll tell you when our money is up, it's gone. Like you have to apply for some funds when the organization has the funding, because not everybody has a grant cycle. Some organizations, they have a pool of money, and when the money has been exhausted, that's it. So that's why I want you to start now. Please don't wait. What I don't want you to do is a month from now, be in the same position where, oh my gosh, I heard there was grants, there's grants somewhere. Why is this person getting grants and not me? How did this organization get money? You don't have to be there because I'm giving you really a phenomenal opportunity. I'm going to be your coach, okay? I'm going to be your coach in the group coaching and in the Facebook group. And then I can certainly be your one-on-one coach at one time. And if you want additional services, we do grant reviews. We will review your grant. We will do custom research for you. That's available. I'll make sure you have my assistant's phone number if you want to set up a meeting with me to do additional services. That's great, but you're at such a good place right now where you need to get started. These are some of the testimonials. I invested in the program recently, and it's amazing. Linda Peavy is a master grant writing guru. Carla says it was so easy to understand and chock full of information. Kelly is the person who 3 weeks ago wrote this grant for $75,000 for her colleague, and then wrote another grant for her. And literally 2 weeks ago, I got information that one young lady wrote five grants for her mom's church based on the information in the course. So I want you to be successful. I want you to get some of all this grant money. And the last one is Linda. So Linda, she wanted to become a grant writer, and she's taken it full circle. So now she is a professional grant writer because she took the course. The course is that in depth. And she's now writing grants for other people. So that is the information you have. Assistant@pov.com is my assistant's email address. I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to start the Q&A, and I'm going to give you this email address, assistant@lapov.com. So if you want to talk with me about any additional services, please do so. If you have any questions, this is just an amazing deal. I just don't want you to be in the same place because people are getting grant money every single day. Why can't it be you? Like, why not you? I want you to have found your home for help, for a community of people who look like you, right? We are so supportive of everyone. And of course, we do have some men, but it's predominantly women. And so we're here to help each other. I tell you, that Facebook group, I get so emotional because they are just phenomenal. The students that come in, we're all about having a community. Remember, I said, don't do this by yourself. Please don't do this by yourself. Get help. We're here to help you. So I'm going to start the Q&A, and I'm going to start. Okay. What about an LLC with no employees? I am so glad you asked that question because I mentioned it earlier. You don't have to have employees to get grant money. You do not have to have employees to get grant money. You can have an all volunteer staff. Did you know that? An all volunteer staff and get grant funding. So no, don't think you have to have employees. As a matter of fact, the Amarillo Foundation, I'm going to put their information here in the chat. The Amarillo Foundation, I think they're in Texas. They specialize, right, in giving funds to organizations with an all volunteer staff. Okay. So let me see if there's any other Q&A in the Q&A, and then I'm going to go over to, here's one. So Dr. Holmes is asking, how do you feel about getting certified as a woman in minority-owned business? So I am certified as both. I'm certified as a minority-owned business. I went through the Gateway Supplier. Now, I can tell you that for most grants that I've seen, you do not need the certification unless specifically you are going after a contract. a government contract, whether it's a state, city, or federal contract. Now, if you're going after a grant that is geared towards a woman-owned business, you do have to make sure that 51% of that company is owned by a woman. But that doesn't mean you need that certification. You just need to be able to prove that 51% is owned by a woman. Should you get certified? Absolutely. Absolutely. I always recommend that people get certified, but for most grants, it's not a necessity. But should you do it? Absolutely. It's only going to be a benefit. I'm going to go back up. So yes, with the course does not expire. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. The course does not expire. So yes, Canary says, wow, it is amazing, right? I know it's a crazy, crazy, crazy fee, the $197. And I want to assure you that it is not going to be that low again. So this is your opportunity. My coaches go crazy when I tell them I sell it for $197. It is not going to be $197 again. So this is it. This is it. This is your opportunity. All right, let me go to the top, and I'm going to start at the bottom of the hellos, and because I think I saw some questions that started at the end of that section, because I want to make sure I get through all of them. Yes, Latrinda, you said you started your business during the pandemic. I said enough is enough. Oh, I know how you feel. So many people, they were done. They were done. It's like, you know what, if I'm going to work this hard, it's going to be for me. I understand. I understand. Okay, so are you able to obtain a 501c3 if you are an LLC? Well, let me make sure I understand your question. So a 501c3 is for a nonprofit. Now, if you have an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, and you want to start a nonprofit, you want to start a 501c3, you absolutely can. Yes, you can. But those two are totally different. You're not going to be a 501c3 if you're an LLC. You can start a nonprofit that isn't 501c3 that is under the umbrella of your LLC. You can do that. Yes, and what I want you to do, you know, again, I said, I don't want you to be in the same place a month from now. I want you to, sometimes you have to speak things into the universe. I want you to put into this chat, I'm ready to get grant money. I am ready to get grant money. I want you to literally type it out because I want to see it in the chat. I am ready to get grant money. I am ready to get grant money. I am ready to get grant money. I want to be able to see it. Do you have any for hair salons? So yes, there was a hair salon. She actually opened up a beauty academy and I helped her get grant funding. So yes. Yes, yes, yes. Is the grant research somewhere we can have maybe sent to our emails? So the slides for the grant research is in the webinar, and you will have a replay of the webinar emailed to you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put in these 2 email addresses because I want to make sure you put these on your safe senders list because I don't want anyone to miss the replay. I don't want this going to your spam. So please put these 2 emails into your email list, lpv@lepav.com and hello@grantwriting for non-writers.com, because I want you to get the full replay. You will have access to the information in the replay. Yes, I want you to get grant money. Yes, Tanya. Yes, Danielle. Yes, Lakeisha. Yes, Deshawn. Yes, Tanika. Yes, Janae. Yes, is that Chris or Christopher? Yes, Kaki. Oh, I hope I didn't slaughter that. Yes, Tarika. Yes, 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 yes. I want you to get grant money. Absolutely. It is time. Like, how long have you been waiting, right? All right, so let me just go back up just a little bit because I saw another question at closer to the top here. And I said I was going to answer everyone, and that's what I plan on doing. All right. So the next one is, yes, Grammarly is fantastic. Yeah, so someone needs help on creating budgets. So there is a lesson, there's a whole module, there's a whole module in the course on creating grants. And I give you actual grant examples. I give you one that's really easy and another one that's a little bit more complicated. And I teach you how to write those budgets. Does this list apply to absolutely. So the for-profits, you can research for for-profit grants. So that's what's great about many of these grant portals. You have to put in that you're a for-profit. That's part of the variable that you put into the online portal, is that, yes, I'm a for-profit. I'm going to put GrantStation in here because GrantStation, oh my gosh, they are just phenomenal when it comes to grants for for-profits. I think it's grantstation.com. They are phenomenal with, oh my gosh, they have so many grants for for-profit organizations. And so many of the other grant portals, they do as well. So that's information that you put in and you literally click a button and up pops tons of grants for for-profit organizations. So please don't think that for-profits can get grants. I have written grants for my own organization. I've written grants for other for-profit organizations. So yes. So I won't be sharing a doc. I don't share my slides. Most of this information is proprietary, but you can get you'll have the full replay. Everything's being recorded, including the chat. Some people like to literally charge for the chats. I don't understand that. Some people charge for the replay. No, I'm here to help you. You get the replay and the chat for free. Yes, Women Helping Women. Oh, Dr. Candace is a past president of the ABWA in Alpharetta, Georgia. That's amazing, Dr. Candace, because I was in Alpharetta a couple of weeks ago. Yes, it's amazing. Yes, the deal is amazing. And I don't know if I mentioned, it is tax deductible. The course will pay for itself. It's tax deductible. Are you available to hire to write grants? You can send information to this email and we can meet to have a discussion about private grant writing. All right. Yes, I'm ready to get grant money. Absolutely. So no more questions in the webinar. I'm going to go back over to the Q&A because I saw a few. So if I'm a real estate investor with an LLC, 100% ownership, I can write a grant. Yes, you can write a grant. Absolutely. You have to find a grant. You have to find a grant, but absolutely. Absolutely, you can write a grant. Sure. What would a grant as such look like? Well, I would advise you to get the course because I have grant examples in the course. Every grant is different, Andrea. Some grants literally, and I said this earlier, especially the for-profit grants, 3 to 4 pages, right? So it depends on what the grant is for. What are you using, right? You're a real estate investor. What are you using with the funds that you get, right? Is it in any way involving the community? You really have to look at what you're using the money for that will help you in finding the right funder, right? Plus, as I mentioned before, there's angel investors too. So in your case, you might want to not only seek grant money, but you might want to seek an angel investor too. I am not a nonprofit. You don't have to be. I want to be sure everybody understands this because I keep getting this question. You do not have to be a nonprofit to get grant funding. I am a for-profit. I am a small business. I have received grant funding, right? I have secured grant money for for-profit organizations. If you take nothing else away from this webinar, please understand that you as a for-profit entity can get free grant money. I know that's hard to concede because it's been hammered in us that only nonprofits get grant money. That just is not true. I gave you some of the portals that you can go in to do research to find the grants. The grant money is there. I was hired to do a webinar yesterday and even a couple of days ago. I've done so many. I did one a couple of days ago that was strictly for a small business organization. And so I had to do a little bit of research because I wanted to give them even more information. And there's tons of grants. There are tons of grants for for-profit organizations. So use the information in the webinar, but of course, the course will take it to a whole different level. So you'll find what you need in the course. Are grants taxable income for for-profit businesses? And that's an excellent question. And talk to your tax preparer or your accountant. But for most for-profits, yes, grants are taxable income. So the tax preparer, I don't think you have to wait to get a huge clientele, right? It depends on what you want to do with your business. This is why I really recommend it. If you have the budget, please think about having a one-on-one, a private one-on-one with me so I can really do a deep dive in your organization. It's normally $495, but if you buy the course, it's $195 because I really want to get into the weeds with some of these organizations like the real estate investor and the tax preparer, because I have so much information that I can share with you, but I can't because we're on a webinar and we're running out of time. But you don't have to wait until you have a huge clientele. It depends on what you're doing with your tax preparation firm, right? And where you're located and who you're serving, right? Who are you serving? That could have a really a significant impact on whether or not you get grant funding. Maybe you're serving those who are low income. You know, that alone could maybe get you grant funding. So it really depends. Okay, so please, if you want to set up that meeting, I put my email, theassistant@lapov.com, into the chat. So just reach out to my assistant and we can set up the appointments, okay? I want to know if there's any other questions. If not, I'm going to wrap it up. Okay. Our angel investors taxable income. So if it's an investment in your organization, excuse me, it's serving as income. I think I've talked myself hoarse now. This is literally, I think, my fourth webinar this week. If it's income coming into your organization, it's going to be taxable. Yes, there are grants for media companies. So I want to thank everybody. I really do. You could have been anywhere else tonight. You chose to be with me. I am very, very grateful. I am just hopeful that you were able to get information just from this hour and a half so that you should be able to start writing grants from this webinar. If you want to know how, expressly, specifically, step by step, making sure you're doing the right things, please join us. Join us, join this community, join me and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other students. We're all doing this together, right? And I'm here to help you because I don't want you to go astray. And let me tell you, just one last thing, I have to get this out. There are so many scammers. I cannot tell you the horror stories that I hear on almost a daily basis about somebody that's been taken by somebody who said they was a professional grant writer. There is a difference between somebody who writes grants and somebody who is a professional grant writer. Okay, so if you do nothing but get the course to come into the Facebook group to ask me questions, I will help you. If somebody says to you, look, give me $50, I can write 3 grants, you need to do a military turn and start running in the other direction, okay? Because that person is trying to scam you. And I am, as you can see, don't get me started on this because I will talk about this for hours because it makes me crazy when I hear these stories about people taking advantage of you because you have a passion, right? And you want to open up a business, you want to start a nonprofit, and these people are taking advantage of you. And I just hate that. So come to a community that is trustworthy. I am a member of the Grants Professional Association. If you want to go to the Better Business Bureau, you're welcome to look up my organization, LaPave Consulting LLC. With my Better Business Bureau, I have an A+ rating. I am an alumni of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. I'm a member of my local Chamber of Commerce. You can do any background check on me that you want. I recommend it because you want to deal with people who are trustworthy. And I think that's it. So the Facebook group, when you join the course, you will get 3 emails: a welcome email, another email with your login, and email with the Facebook link. But even if you don't get it right away or you don't click, I know who has joined and you'll get an invite to join, but you'll get a link in your email. Just click the link and it will signify us to let you into the Facebook group. So Lakeisha says someone wants to charge my pastor $1,000 to help get the 501c3 for our church. So one of the places I would recommend that you go to, like, I don't know if that's a lot of money. I know the 503c process can be lengthy. I always recommend, if you want to get your 501c3, it's not 503, it's 501c3, go to an accountant, go to an attorney, or I have organizations that specialize in helping organizations get their 501c3. So if you're interested in talking to some of the organizations that I work with, again, just utilize that email that I gave you. I mean, that may be reasonable. I mean, that doesn't really sound like a lot of money to me if they're going through the whole stage of making sure you get your 501c3, because that's an important document, right? Sharice, that's an excellent question. Is there a fee to apply for the grants? So 99% of the time, there's no fee. Amber Grants for Women, I think they have like a $25 or $50 fee, but that's very unusual. But still apply. Don't let that keep you from applying, because you're trying to get free money. Like, don't let a $50 or $25 application fee keep you from applying, because you're trying to get free money. So, but 99% of the time, there are typically no fees to apply for grants. Monette says to get a 501c3 runs about $1,500. So the $1,000 is probably a deal. And to me, that doesn't sound expensive. $1,000 to me, that doesn't sound like it's too much to help you get that very, very, very important designation. We had someone before help and it never came through. So I was just curious about that. Okay, now that's an issue, right? That's it. It sounds like, something happened that should not have happened, but that's where contracts come into play. So make sure you have a contract. All right. I think we are done. So I want to thank everybody. I want to see you. I want to see you in the Facebook group. I want to see you. The group coaching is next week. So this is a great time for you to apply and become a student. You have to be a student to go into the Facebook group and to be part of the group coaching sessions. But this is a perfect time for you because it's next week, and hopefully I'll see you next week and I'll see you in the Facebook group. I just wish you well. I hope you have great success. I want to hear success stories. I hope this has been, again, helpful for you. I just don't want you to be stuck. I just don't want you to be in the same place. And my last thought for you is that you cannot win grants if you don't write grants. Okay? You can't win if you don't write. And I'm here to show you that you can do this. You can write. All right. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a blessed evening. I thank you so much. I have my email address there, and look for the replay tonight or tomorrow morning. Look for the replay. Okay. All right. You have 3 days, for $197. It's tax deductible. Don't let this opportunity pass you by, because it's not going to come again. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.